Hi everyone, hope everyone is well. This evening I'm playing Command and Colours Ancients. This is the second battle of Beneventum, 214 BC. Got the game set up here as you can see. We have the Carthaginians on this side of the board here, and these brown wooden cubes here. And then we have the Romans here on this side of the board, these sort of grey cubes here. The Romans move first. The victory is for 7 banners. So that's what we will be playing this evening. And the river on this side of the board here is impassable, non-fordable. So they can't get across it or use it or anything like that. There's a couple of special rules. When the Roman player gains his third victory banner, he immediately draws 2 additional command cards. So the command cards for both sides are 4 cards. I think it will take me the most of the evening that I've got this evening to play a war game. Normally you could play Command and Colours Ancients in probably less than an hour, but with videoing it does take me a little bit longer. So it may be that I get interrupted and have to play over a couple of evenings. We'll see. How I always play Command and Colours is it's not turn-based, which makes videoing a little harder. But what I'll do instead is play a few cards for both sides and then stop and then give an account of how the narrative of the battle is shaping up. And that's how I play these games. It's how I like playing Command and Colours. I'm looking for an exciting, interesting, engaging battle from a narrative point of view, rather than trying to play one side off against the other. Try and keep impartial, both sides equal merit to winning this evening's game. So no further ado, I will make a start. Probably before I should do, one thing I would point out on this particular scenario, like a lot of scenarios in Ancients, there are quite a few different types of troops. So, for example, here, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different types of troops all in that area there. So if you're not familiar with Command and Colours Ancients, there is whilst the game looks simple, for want of a better expression, there's a lot of nuances in the games. One of the things I like about Commands and Colours, especially Ancients, I have been doing quite a bit of reading on this period of history recently, so I'm very keen to get it to the table. So no further ado, let's crack on, and we'll go through the first few card activations. So even after the first few card activations, you can see both sides are clashing against each other. It's quite a maelstrom of melee combat between the two sides. On this side here, as I'm looking at the board on the left-hand side here, Romans brought up some warriors and were able to engage and defeat a couple of units out of that hex there. Move up for their units on this side of the board, and they engaged the archers, who were able to force them to retreat, but taken quite a lot of casualties. Same sort of applies for the middle. The Carthaginians have taken quite a lot of casualties from this hex here, and in turn they responded by moving some of their units up here, defeated some of these medium troops here. So it's quite maelstrom, quite chaotic in terms of what you can imagine the battlefield on these plains at this point. It's hard to tell even who's got the upper hand. I mean, the Carthaginians certainly have taken more casualties than the Romans in the opening segment of this battle. But the Romans got a few precarious units. So what I will do now, as the Carthaginians will try and move these very vulnerable units back through their lines, so they don't. The Romans can't exploit that and bolster these defensive lines, maybe with these more heavy hitting units there and there. And then the Romans themselves are just going to keep pushing aggressively forward, and they've got a lot more units that can come into play, including some cavalry here. Now, of course, the Carthaginians have some elephants, which are a lot of fun to use in the game. So just waiting for the right time to unleash them and see what damage they can cause on this flank here. We'll see. So now the Carthaginians are taking quite a lot of casualties, especially on this flank. and in the center here, or the left-hand side of the center as we look at the board. And they have lost a unit, and so it's a victory banner to the Romans. However, they have sent some brave units off on their own a little bit to see what damage they could cause. And this unit here have defeated a Roman unit, and so gain a victory banner for the Carthaginians in that form. And on this side, they have sent their elephants in. If in doubt, send the elephants in, hold back, and see what damage they can cause. And they have made short work of that particular unit over there. So, in terms of the victory banners, both sides are at 1. It's too early to call the game in terms of who's winning, who's losing. But Carthaginians have suffered more casualties than the Romans have. Romans still looking very strong. Their line is nicely formed up, as you would expect from the Roman forces. Carthaginians are a bit all over the place. It's quite chaotic, but that's quite fun to play out. What I will do, again, as the Carthaginian player, I'm going to try and protect these very vulnerable units here. I think this one is probably going to be lost. And see what damage the elephants can cause, and try and use some of these units here. Still got a lot of units there unused at the minute. So see if we can get them into the game. That's not always the case in Command and Colours. You often find you finish a game and a number of units just were never used. Yeah, and that's not that unusual in you look at different battles of history. The Romans' perspective, they're going to sort of hold the line and just move and aggressively move forward, but holding that sort of more disciplined line, I think, than the Carthaginians in this particular game. They don't have any particularly vulnerable units at the minute, the Romans. Do we have this unit here? It's quite vulnerable, maybe. But that would probably mean sacrificing that. That unit there over there with the elephants is quite vulnerable to the elephants, maybe. But it is the Romans' turn the next turn, so we'll see how that works out. So now the Carthaginians, this side is very dicey, very, very dicey. This unit with the leader here, just down to one block left, and there's a lot of Romans, facing a lot of Romans there. Same applies here. There's been a bit of backwards and forwards, nothing too major, but Carthaginians looking shaky. And in the centre, or the right-hand side of the centre, again, excuse me, the Romans looking very strong. On the right-hand side, it's quite an interesting battle developing. So the leader with the light cavalry have formed up, and they've started to engage the Romans. And the elephant is having elephant units having a grand old time, smashing units out of its way, etc. In terms of the victory banners, the Romans now have 3, and the Carthaginians have 2. So definitely the Romans have the upper hand, and there's some very shaky-looking Carthaginian units left. So 1, 2, 3. They managed to pull those archers back to there. So it definitely is tipping. The scales are tipping in the Roman favour. They're looking definitely stronger, but I've known this before with Command and Colours. Things don't always go the way that side may plan, so the Carthaginians may yet snatch victory. We will see. So unfortunately for the Carthaginians, they've suffered more casualties, and the Romans here have really sewn up this left flank. They've only got this unit here with a leader, and the middle, the Romans have been able to push and get themselves in a good position. And on the right flank here, it's sort of, maybe it's even Stevens, but certainly in the middle, the Romans have it, and the left flank, the Romans have it. So in terms of victory banners, the Romans have 5 victory banners, so they only need 2 more to clinch victory. The Carthaginians have only 2 victory banners, so definitely the Romans are doing much better at the minute as we come close to the end game, I think. And yes, indeed, the Romans claimed victory, just eliminating the 2 units there to gain them the necessary victory banners that they needed for victory for the Romans in this evening's game. And a very enjoyable game it has been as well. It's definitely, Command and Colours is a game system that I enjoy immensely. whether playing solo or two-player. And Ancients is one of my favourite games of that series. It's very playable. There's not a huge amount of terrain, as you can see, but there's a lot of nuances in the various units. In this game, the units that did very well are, just grab my unit sheet. I would say for in this evening's game, the heavy infantry, which are the infantry with the red square here, they did incredibly well. They do roll a lot of dice, which of course helps, and especially in conjunction with a leader, but also actually been defeated. But the other unit I probably would call out are probably the warrior unit, which I've got one actually just there. So they are on especially on the Carthaginian side, they did very well, and the Roman side. They have like a upside down triangle, and they can also roll quite a lot of dice, and they can advance and then made battle again, which they were able to do. The elephants are good fun. Enjoy using them. Very thematic. A great game. Took just a little over an hour to play, but of course that included takes a little bit of time to set up command and colours because you've got all the different units and so forth, but not too many tiles for the terrain. And of course, I'm stopping making these sort of videos, which so therefore takes me a little bit longer than it would do yourself playing it with either with an opponent or playing it solo. Yeah, a really good game session. I've always enjoyed playing Command and Colours. I'll be honest with you. I don't think I've ever played it and not enjoyed the game. And Ancients is one of my favourite games in the series. So thanks a lot for watching. If you've played this scenario, please leave a comment in the comments section. I would love to know how your game session worked out. And if you're new to Command and Colours, I suggest you check out the games in the series. I do feature them a lot on my channel, both Ancients and Napoleonics, and I've featured Medieval and the Samurai game, and of course Memoir 44, which is in the same family, although it's not called Command and Colours. Thanks a lot for watching, as always, and take care. Thank you.